Our house sat hunched against the wind on the edge of the Stygian woods, a place the locals avoided long before we inherited it. It felt less like a home and more like a forgotten tongue, steeped in the silence of things that refused to rest. Here my family upheld a peculiar, unsettling tradition passed down through generations, a custom our ancestors brought from some nameless, shadowed corner of the old world. Each evening, after the last morsel was consumed from our plates, my father, Robert, would solemnly scrape a portion of each dish onto a separate plate. This, he explained in hushed tones even when I was a child, was the silent share. It was placed on a small, dust-covered table near the back door, left for the others. We were forbidden, absolutely forbidden, to touch this food once it was set out. "It's not for us," almost my mother, Eleanor, would say, her eyes holding a flicker of fear. "It belongs to the hungry ones who walk the thresholds." My uncle Silas, who sometimes visited, spoke of it less often, but with a grim certainty that chilled the air. They were offerings, appeasements to entities tied to the land, spirits that predated the house itself, ancient and demanding. As a child, the rule was absolute and terrifying. A plate of cooling food, sometimes glistening with sauces, sometimes stark with bread crusts and meat scraps, sat there through the night. On morning, it was invariably empty, save for a few stray crumbs or a gray stain. Where did it go? My parents were vague, speaking of them taking it, the wind, the shadows. As I grew older, curiosity gnawed at me, sharp and insistent as the northern winds. Could spirits truly eat? Or was it just some old superstition, a ritual maintained out of habit or lingering, unfounded fear? The house creaked and groaned, yes, but old houses do. The woods pressed close, yes, but woods are wild. There were logical explanations for everything, surely. One particularly bleak evening. Hunger lingered after supper, and the silent chair sat only a few feet away, a forgotten stew smelling faintly of rosemary. My parents were preoccupied elsewhere in the drafty house. The table felt less like a sacred boundary and more like a ridiculous restriction, a dare issued by my own rebellious mind. I crept closer, the floorboards protesting with soft groans beneath my weight. The air around the plate felt unnaturally cold, a chill that seeped into my bones despite the dying fire in the hearth. My hand trembled as I reached out, snatching a piece of meat and a chunk of potato. I devoured them quickly, a rush of nervous adrenaline flooding my system. The food tasted normal, mundane. I had broken the rule, and nothing happened. No lightning strike, no spectral manifestation. Just the gnawing hunger finally sated. I dismissed the entire thing as foolishness and went to bed. But things changed after that night. Slowly at first. The silent share began to disappear faster, sometimes gone within minutes of being placed. Footsteps echoed in the empty halls when everyone was accounted for. Whispers, like dry leaves skittering across the stone, seemed to coil from the corners of rooms. A perpetual cold settled in the house, even near the roaring fires. One night, I woke to the distinct sound of chewing coming from just outside my bedroom door, followed by a low, guttural sigh that seemed to vibrate through the walls. The fear, suppressed for so long, clawed its way into my throat. I sought out Julius, the reclusive man who lived in the stone hermitage beside the ancient, crumbling churchyard on the far side of the woods. He was said to know the old ways, the history of this cursed place. He listened patiently, his eyes, the color of faded slate, fixed on my face. When I confessed what I had done, a profound sadness settled over him, like dust on an old monument. The offerings, They sustain them. Thomas, he rasped, his voice like grinding stones. Keep the veil settled. You haven't just stolen food, you've announced your presence, made yourself known. You've invited them in. They are hungry, yes, but for more than just sustenance now. They hunger for recognition, for interaction, for life, and they resent the living who partake of what is rightfully theirs. The haunting intensified with terrifying speed. Shadows moved with unnatural swiftness. Objects flew across rooms when no one was near. A spectral handprint appeared on a frosty window pane, too large and clawed to be human. Sleep became a luxury I could no longer afford, haunted by the sound of scraping and slurping just beyond my door, the sense of unseen eyes watching me constantly. Driven to the brink, I confessed everything to my parents. Their faces drained of color, a shared, ancient terror gripping them. My father understood the gravity immediately. We had to try and appease them, somehow push them back. My mother, shaking, brought out dusty books on local folklore and forgotten rites. We spent a harrowing night attempting an old protection ritual, drawing symbols on the floor with salt, muttering prayers over fresh offerings placed with trembling hands. It felt futile, a child's sand castle against a tidal wave. The climax arrived with the next silent share. We watched from the shadows of the main hall as my father placed the plate on the small table. The air grew thick, heavy, suffocating. The temperature plummeted, our breath misting before our eyes. And the sounds began. A frantic, ravenous slurping, closer and louder than ever before. A plate rattled violently on the table. A dark, shifting patch in the air above it seemed to deepen, coalesce. We could see nothing definite, only the distortion of light, the sense of immense, desperate hunger filling the space. Then, a sound that tore through the silence was sharp, wet rip, like flesh tearing, followed by a sickening gulp. The food vanished in an instant. A plate clattered, and for the first time, we felt a distinct, cold pressure in the room, moving towards us. Not just a presence, but a reaching, a touch. It wasn't just the food they wanted anymore. It was us. The silence that fell after they retreated was heavier than before, laden with the promise of their return, their insatiable hunger now fixed firmly upon the living occupants of the house. We had given them a taste, and they would never be satisfied with mere leftovers again.